Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's PCAOB open meeting. I want to welcome all who have joined us today in person and all who will be participating via webcast. I note for the record that all board members are present. The business before the board today is a staff recommendation that the board adopt the PCAOB strategic plan for fiscal years 2019 through 2023, which rolls forward our existing vision, values, and strategic goals and objectives, and also to approve the PCAOB's 2020 budget and budget justification. To present the recommendation, I will turn to our Acting Chief Administrative Officer, Ms. Sue Lee, and her team. Ms. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We are here to provide a brief overview of the PCAOB's 2020 budget, concluding collaborative efforts throughout the organization for much of this past year. The budget is organized so that the strategic initiatives and resource needs of each division and office are mapped to the goals and objectives of the board's new strategic plan. The budget for 2020 is $284.7 million, as compared to the PCAOB's 2019 budget of $273.7 million, an increase of 4%. I will now turn to our budget officer, Jim Hearn, to outline the largest components of the 2020 budget in terms of cost category and each category's approximate portion of the total budget.
Thank you, Sue. The largest component of the PCAOB's budget is personnel costs, which includes salaries, benefits, taxes, training, and recruitment. And that amounts to $211.5 million, which accounts for nearly 3/4 of our budget. This resource level assumes that 850 positions will be filled by the end of 2020, just 12 more positions than in the 2019 budget. Turning now to non-personnel costs. For rent and other facilities costs, including capital expenditures, the budget includes $20.8 million, which accounts for 7% of the PCAOB's 2020 budget. The budget includes $14.7 million in travel-related costs, which account for 5%. In 2020, inspections-related travel accounts for most of the PCAOB's travel costs. Consulting and professional fees at $15.5 million account for 5% of the budget. And the information technology expense cost category is $14.2 million, also 5% of the budget. Finally, administrative expenses, things like subscription and library costs, business insurance, event costs, are $8.5 million, and they account for the remainder of the budget, about 3%. All of the above costs are funded through the accounting support fee levied on issuers, brokers, and dealers. The accounting support fee associated with the 2020 budget is $270 million. The accounting support fee for issuers is $240 million, and for broker-dealers, it is $30 million. The budget also assumes that at the end of 2020, the board will have 5 months of reserve operating resources for early 2021.
Again, and then we'll proceed in order of seniority, which is a little like quintuplets since we all arrived at the same time. Before I begin my formal statement related to our adoption of the 2020 budget, I want to take a moment to thank former board member Ham for her dedicated service to the board. I think I speak for each of the board members in saying that we appreciated the chance to serve with her. She was fully committed to our mission, and her service left an indelible mark on the organization, as well as all of us individually. With that said, we now welcome our new board member, Rebecca Dourado, who joined the board on November 4th. Rebecca, we look forward to serving with you, and we look forward to accomplishing our mission and push forward with our strategic vision and goals together. Thank you for your willingness to serve, and welcome to the board. I'm pleased to support the recommendation in favor of adopting our 2020 budget and related strategic plan. During 2018, the board focused our efforts on assessing where we were as a regulatory body, defining where we needed to go, and strategizing how to get there. Those efforts, aided by significant external input, yielded a new strategic plan, anchored by a clear vision, revised core values, and 5 strategic goals. During 2019, we began the hard work of implementing our vision, instilling our values, and accomplishing our goals. Doing so has demanded significant organizational changes in structure, processes, capabilities, and most of all, culture. Change, of course, is never easy. It is, however, often necessary. When the 5 new board members joined last year, one of the first things we did was reach out to our stakeholders for their assessment of the PCAOB and their views on where we should take the organization in the future. Through that outreach, investors, audit committee members, academics, auditors, and most of all, our own employees made it abundantly clear that the organization was ripe for change. Not merely incremental change, but transformational change. The type of change that can challenge any organization, regardless of its size or maturity. Our own assessment led us to the same conclusion. We needed to become more effective in improving audit quality, more innovative in our oversight, more engaged with our stakeholders, more efficient and effective in our operations, and more committed to our culture and people. When the board unanimously adopted a strategic plan, which we affirm today, we committed collectively to transform the PCAOB into a trusted leader that promotes high-quality auditing through forward-looking, responsive, and innovative oversight. The type of change we are pursuing together to accomplish that vision requires patience, drive, and an unwavering commitment to the outcome. It also requires looking past the fears that change instills to the opportunities that change presents. As a board, we have been and will continue to be intently focused on implementing our vision. Working together with our staff, we will continue to push forward with the changes necessary to move the PCAOB along the organizational maturity curve. In 2019, the board took substantial steps toward implementing our vision. I'll touch briefly on five core areas where we have focused our recent efforts. First, we have made important changes to how we conduct inspections. The first step in a multi-year journey to transform our inspections program. We placed an increased emphasis this year on firms' quality control systems. We devoted substantial resources to understanding how the largest audit firms define their quality control objectives and manage the risks associated with achieving those objectives. We also significantly increased our interaction with audit committees during the inspections process. Whereas in the past, we spoke to approximately 10% of audit committee chairs for the issuers whose audits were selected for inspection, this year we've spoken to the audit committee chair on nearly every inspection we've conducted, or nearly 400 so far. Further, we deployed our first ever target team of inspectors to perform a horizontal review of an area of increasing risk and focus, the conduct and supervision of multi-location audits. We also devoted significant resources to refining our inspections report format to better meet the needs of investors and audit committee members, as well as the broader public. Early next year, we plan to release the new inspection report format, beginning with the 2018 reports for the largest U.S. firms. We hope our changes, which are both form and substance, will provide more relevant and accessible information to our stakeholders. We have also begun to take a more preventative approach to communicating what we observe in our inspections. We've made progress on reporting not only the failures we observe, but also the good practices we see that promote or enhance audit quality. We've also made an important internal change to our inspections program, which we have not yet shared with our external stakeholders. This year, we formed a new team known as the Inspections Quality Group. This group, staffed by experienced inspectors, has been tasked with ensuring the consistency, quality, and effectiveness of our inspections activities. Their efforts will touch all parts of our inspections process, from methodology to planning to execution to reporting to remediation. We continue to make other enhancements to our inspection program and expect to make further changes to it that will improve our ability to identify and respond to risks, communicate consistently, prioritize our use of resources, and measure and analyze results. Second, we have made massive changes to our stakeholder outreach and communications. We recently hired our first ever stakeholder liaison, Erin Dwyer. Erin is dedicated to serving as a direct point of contact and resource for investors and audit committee members, and is actively pursuing a new engagement strategy for us. We also hosted our first ever series of investor roundtables and audit committee roundtables. Over 800 investors and more than 600 audit committee members attended these and other events where the PCAOB had a presence over the last several months. Our key takeaway from these roundtables and other events was that there continues to be a strong desire to interact more often and more directly with us. We've also recently begun to improve our outreach to financial statement preparers, and we intend to focus further on that outreach in 2020. We look forward to continuing to expand and improve our stakeholder engagement in the coming year. We also took significant strides in 2019 towards improving our external documents, such as staff guidance, with an aim of making our publications more timely and more useful. For example, we issued targeted resources for investors, audit committees, and auditors related to implementation of critical audit matters. We also recently issued guidance to raise awareness of the new requirements relating to auditing estimates and the use of specialists. While those standards do not go into effect until December 2020, we wanted to provide early insights as auditors prepare for implementation. We plan to continue with this guided approach as we move new projects forward. Third, we reorganized our research and analysis function with our aim of more effectively integrating our analytical capabilities into our oversight functions. Aligning our Office of Economic Risk and Analysis capabilities into our oversight functions remains a work in progress, and we look forward to continuing that integration as we strive to implement the board's overarching vision. Fourth, we onboarded numerous employees into newly created significant positions, including a Chief Data Officer, Chief Risk Officer, Chief Compliance Officer, and Chief Information Security Officer. These roles will be critical to the long-term effectiveness of this organization. This year, we launched the PCAOB's first ever Enterprise Risk Management Program and developed formal plans and systems to identify and respond to business continuity concerns, as well as other security threats and incidents. We also developed a new suite of performance metrics to measure our progress towards completing our strategic goals. We have also made meaningful enhancements to numerous business processes. Finally, we have begun to execute on our goal to optimize our culture. We drafted our first ever human capital strategic plan. We launched a new learning management system to assist our staff in their professional growth and development. We expect to issue soon a new compensation philosophy and career progression philosophy with an increased emphasis on transparency for our employees. And we recently developed and launched the organization's first internal communications plan with an aim of communicating more often and more effectively to all PCAOB staff. These are just a few of the organizational accomplishments we had in 2019. The first year of executing our vision for the PCAOB. Much more, however, remains to be done, which is why today we collectively reaffirm our commitment to our current strategic vision, values, and goals. When we adopted our strategic plan last year, we understood it would take several years to accomplish our goals. That remains true, and we are heartened by the progress we have made to date. As it relates to the 2020 budget specifically, the amounts outlined reflect the resources needed to continue to execute against our strategic plan and fulfill our statutory mission. Many of the strategic initiatives we have undertaken require short-term investments, which are reflected in the proposed budget. Over the longer term, we expect that many of the changes we are making will result in more efficient and effective operations. I appreciate the staff's assistance in developing the 2020 budget, and I'm pleased to support it today. I also want to thank my fellow board members for their work on the budget and support of the vision we laid out. I appreciate the strong commitment you have shown to the organization and our mission. I now turn over to my board members who will make their statements. Board Member Brown.
Thank you, Chair Dunkey. I'd also like to welcome new board member Dourado to her first public meeting. Welcome, Rebecca. I'm pleased to support the board's strategic plan and 2020 budget. Our 5-year strategic plan reflects the continuing goals and major strategic initiatives of the board. In particular, I'd like to talk briefly, and I mean briefly, about 3 important areas: investor outreach and engagement, budget transparency, and investing in our people. We committed in our strategic plan to understand and consider investors' audit expectations. Over the past year, we have created a position designed to be a liaison with and direct point of contact for investors, audit committees, and preparers. We've reached out to these stakeholders and sought feedback through a variety of mechanisms, including meetings, roundtables, and participation in events where these stakeholders were present. I applaud the staff for their ongoing outreach efforts in advancing our strategic initiative and look forward to more opportunities for engagement in 2020. Outreach, however, is only part of the process of engaging with investors. Transparency plays a critical role in helping the PCAOB fulfill its mission of protecting investors and furthering the public interest. In my statement last year, I expressed my view that transparency means more than inviting comments or improving the quality of the information that we push out, and emphasized the importance of taking steps to improve our transparency and reduce the opacity by becoming more open with respect to our operations and with respect to the information that we collect and produce. As I have recently emphasized, to the extent that we, as an organization, are more transparent about what we do and how we do it, investors and other stakeholders will better understand our process and, rather than wait until we reach out to them, will be more likely to reach in to us. Simply put, increased transparency provides greater opportunity for engagement, which ultimately will improve the quality of our rules, our reports, and our oversight. The approval of the budget today provides an opportunity for increased transparency by the PCAOB. Once the budget is approved and submitted to the SEC, SEC Rule 190 provides that the budget and the budget justification, subject to any applicable exemption under the Freedom of Information Act, shall be made available to the public. The budget justification includes a discussion of the PCAOB's programs and activities in concise and specific terms. Historically, following approval of the budget, we have posted a 5-page budget document consisting of high-level numbers and definitions. I would like to see the PCAOB make a more detailed version of the budget and the budget justification more easily accessible. We could post the information on the PCAOB's website. As I read Rule 190, there is nothing that would prohibit us from doing this. Steps in this direction would certainly be consistent with our strategic goal of increased transparency. Finally, I want to address our exceptional people. The PCAOB is composed of over 780 talented and devoted employees. Approximately 3/4 of our budget provides for personnel-related expenses. I cannot overstate the importance of our human capital in achieving the PCAOB's mission. In order to effectively perform our oversight functions, we rely on our ability to attract, retain, and develop qualified and skillful professionals. I am pleased to see that our Office of the Chief Auditor will undergo a modest increase in budgeted personnel next year. There remain a significant number of interim standards adopted by the PCAOB when the doors opened in 2003. We continue to work hard at updating these interim standards, and I look forward to additional progress in the coming year. A critical role of the PCAOB is the inspections process. Nearly half of our budget goes to the Division of Inspections and Registration. The division is tasked with a number of important functions, but mostly conducts inspections of audit firms. We are on course to have inspected approximately 248 firms in 2019, up from 235 last year. In inspecting a firm, we often review multiple audits. We are on course this year to have inspected around 884 audits, up from 812 last year. The numbers reflect the fact that the staff in the division are working incredibly hard at fulfilling the PCAOB's mission. The division, of course, needs adequate staffing. For 2018, the last budget adopted by the prior board, a headcount of 502 was set out for the division. In the budget approved last year, we lowered the number to 480. The 2020 budget proposes to maintain the headcount at 480. I look forward to discussions with my fellow board members over the course of the next year on the appropriate number of inspections and the appropriate level of staffing for the division. I believe today's budget will help us to effectively achieve our mission. I also want to join the chair in thanking our dedicated staff for their hard work in developing the 2020 budget and related strategic plan, and to my fellow board members and their staff for sharing their perspectives. Staff worked particularly hard this year on the budget and devoted significant resources to the process, including continuous engagement with the Commission's staff. With the PCAOB undergoing transformation, the two organizations met at least monthly beginning in February. The meetings involved a regular team from the Office of the Chief Accountant at the SEC, including Mark Panucci, Matt Hodder, Giles Cohen, Godfrey Marangi, and Mark Jacoby, and a regular team from the Office of Administration at the PCAOB, including Jim Hearn, Yas Masagian, Alfredo Azokar, and Bobby Rose. Our team at the PCAOB operated under the auspices of Sue Lee, the Acting Chief Administrative Officer, and Holly Greaves, the Chief Financial Officer. Thanks to all of you. We couldn't get this done without your effort. And to all of you that I just thanked, be prepared for another busy year.
Board Member Kaiser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Rebecca. I fully support the PCAOB's 2019 to 2023 strategic plan and the 2020 budget. Last year, the board began to reconsider and renew our commitment to audit quality. In year one of our multi-year plan, we have made substantive progress towards our goals. Our people, our leaders, and the board are fully committed to our mission. This plan, the supporting budget, and the related transformation efforts will help us as we continue. This year, we began transforming our inspections process to conduct our inspection activities to provide more timely and relevant feedback to our stakeholders. We have accelerated the inspection process. A new inspections report is forthcoming. It will be more readable and more accessible to a wide range of our stakeholders. We have begun to fulfill our commitment to enhancing transparency and accessibility through proactive stakeholder engagement. We have several staff dedicated to external communications. Speaking events, roundtables, educational forums, webinars, and meetings with stakeholders are happening regularly. Our staff have published regular guidance geared towards specific interest groups. All these things together are cultivating more effective and dynamic dialogue with our stakeholders. In standard setting, we have been busy working through our agenda. It involves better leveraging economic and risk analysis to effectively set standards, rules, and guidance. This helps ensure our standards, rules, and guidance are grounded in evidence and remain effective. Compliance with the new critical audit matters standard has been a major focus of our divisions. We have monitored and supported its implementation through targeted guidance, webinars, regular contact with firms, and the inspections process. Late last year, we finalized new and revised standards on estimates and the use of specialists. Since then, staff have provided guidance and educational opportunities to promote awareness of these standards. In this way, we are regulating throughout the implementation process and not just through inspections and enforcement. Additionally, we will be issuing a concept release shortly to obtain feedback on new quality control standards. Enforcement has continued to ensure accountability and deter improper conduct by addressing violation of PCAOB standards and rules related to federal securities laws. This includes enhancing and aligning skill sets to investigate matters involving complex practices within the profession. The enforcement team seeks to maximize their ability to enforce accountability, achieve appropriate deterrent effects, and protect investors. This 2020 budget will support us as we continue these efforts. Our specific investment in technology means we can optimize our operations to technology, enable and mobilize our people. This will empower them to become more effective and efficient in furthering our mission. Finally, I would like to thank our dedicated PCAOB staff. You are driving our mission daily and enabling our transformation. I would also like to thank our office administration for their efforts on bringing this budget forward, and thank you too to our colleagues at the Securities and Exchange Commission for their feedback and oversight.
Board Member Desparty.
Good morning, everybody. I too fully support the board's updated 5-year strategic plan and the associated budget. I'm going to abbreviate some of my comments to not be overly repetitive, but one thing, the oversight activities, the stakeholder engagement, and the transformation initiatives that we've been involved in over the past year have really reinforced to me that the strategic goals and the strategic objectives that we established last year do indeed continue to be relevant and responsive to fulfilling our mission. And the plan before us today drives us further down the path upon which we embarked last year to achieve these goals and these objectives. I continue to believe in the plan and the promise that it offers. There are several elements of the plan, consistent with my comments last year, that I view as particularly important. Our consideration of promoting audit quality from a preventative standpoint through improvements in firm quality control systems and through the sharing of successful audit practices. Our focus on improving the relevance and timeliness of information that we share about audit quality with our stakeholders, our commitment to more effective shareholder engagement, particularly with investors, audit committees, and preparers, and to continued engagement with other audit regulators internationally, and our evaluation of opportunities and risks associated with innovations in data analytics and technologies, and of the implications for financial reporting, for audits, and for our own oversight activities. Of course, we cannot succeed without our staff. As others have mentioned, we are very fortunate to have a team of highly dedicated and very capable people. As set forth in our plan, we are committed to further develop, empower, and meaningfully engage our people to further cultivate a high-integrity, collaborative, and inclusive culture. Achieving our strategic objectives is enabled through our programs, operations, and transformation initiatives. I have reviewed the associated spending amounts reflected in the 2020 budget for these items, which I believe are appropriate relative to the strategies we are executing. Importantly, the 2020 budget reflects targeted increases, as has been mentioned, in the staffing of our Office of the Chief Auditor function to appropriately support the anticipated project to update our quality control standards and the effective implementation of new standards, including critical audit matters, auditing estimates, and using the work of specialists. The budget also provides for further prudent investments in our IT and data management capabilities and in the areas of enterprise risk management, compliance, and information security. As stewards of the fees that we collect to fund our efforts, we must operate as effectively and efficiently as possible. It is important, therefore, that we continue to optimize our program effectiveness, our internal processes, and our IT investments. The PCAOB plays a critical role in our capital markets, as you all know. I believe our plan will make us more effective in our oversight and in achieving our mission of protecting investors. I thank my fellow board members, the entire PCAOB staff, and the SEC for their collaboration and partnership over the past year. And I look forward to together making further progress in driving continuous improvement in audit quality.
Board Member Dourado.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you, Chairman Ducky, and my fellow board members for the very gracious welcome. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be here today. And I would like to begin by thanking the leadership of the PCAOB offices and the division directors for your critical help in onboarding me as I've transitioned into my new role. As many of you know, I began my term just a little over 2 weeks ago, so some may think it might be a little bit odd or not necessarily ideal to have to vote on the future operations of an organization so soon. However, I actually think this has been an opportune and ideal time because it has afforded me the opportunity to do a deep dive and get a better understanding of the organization and the current outstanding work that the staff is doing. And again, I'd like to thank the leadership for the comprehensive overview that you've all given me, which has enabled me to do an evaluation of the budget and the strategic plan that has been brought forward to us today. And in fact, I'm actually really honored that the first vote I get to cast as a member of this board is in support of the budget of the PCAOB to make sure that you have sufficient resources to be able to carry out the critical mission of this organization. And with respect to the 5-year strategic plan that upon completion and execution will enable the board to actually better and more effectively fulfill its mission. So in regards to the budget, I believe we have taken a thorough approach to evaluating the resources necessary to continue on our transformation journey. I believe the needs identified in our budget will provide us with the ability to continue to change while maintaining our focus on the mission to protect investors and further the public interest in the preparation of informative, accurate, and independent audit reports. And with respect to the strategic plan, I have heard about the significant progress that has been made in the organization since the prior strategic plan was unveiled. I appreciate the staff's dedication and the commitment to the various transformation projects that are underway, and I am eager to be part of those in the efforts as we continue on this journey. And on a personal note, prior to joining the PCAOB, I spent much of my career as a capital markets regulator and in the development of policy designed to maintain the integrity of the U.S. capital markets. And I believe that if we want to enable U.S. investors to be able to save for college for their children, for themselves, or in retirement, it's critically important that the information provided to investors can be relied upon, that investors know that that information is valid, trustworthy, and importantly, accurate. And that is why the mission of the PCAOB is so critically important and why it is truly my honor and privilege to serve on the board as we effect that mission. And in closing, I would like to thank Sue and the entire staff of the Office of the Administration for bringing this budget forward, and all the PCAOB employees for your dedication to our transformation and our mission. I would also like to thank the SEC staff for their efforts on this budget. I approve the submission to the SEC along with the 5-year plan. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Unless there are any further comments or questions, we'll proceed with the vote. All in favor of approving the staff's recommendation that we adopt the PCAOB strategic plan for fiscal years 2019 to 2023 and approve the PCAOB's 2020 budget and budget justification, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the recommendation is approved. And that concludes our agenda for the open meeting today. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.